Have you ever wanted to inspire people to change the way they think or act, and by so doing, help transform the world for the better? If you're that type of optimistic visionary, then Original Oratory might be a good speech event for you. OO is all about mindsets, values, beliefs, behaviors, actions on an individual level. In an Original Oratory speech, you find a mindset or value, and you address it head on by showing the serious problems it causes in our world. So an OO is by nature persuasive. You're fundamentally trying to persuade your audience to change the way they think or act. It's pretty similar to a lot of TED Talks that leave an audience feeling inspired by the end of the speech. But there's an important distinction between TED Talks and OO. OO address serious problems affecting our society and the world, whereas many TED Talks are discussing self-help tips or innovation strategies. It's called technology, education, and design. Now, I know that for you, procrastinating on your homework probably feels like one of the most pressing problems, or brainstorming how to create the next revolutionary startup might be awesome, and TED Talks give useful tips for overcoming those issues, but that's not quite the type of problem that OOs tackle. So what types of problems do OOs discuss? It's things that ruin lives. Racism, homophobia, sexism, environmental damage, violence, addiction, depression, etc. It's the big problems confronting society, political partisanship, climate change. And the trick of a good OO is to show that some mindset or set of values causes these serious problems. You're saying, look, there is a mindset that you probably think is fine, that most people intuitively don't question. And then you turn that mindset on its head and say, look, everybody, it's actually causing all of these major societal problems in really unexpected ways. Obviously, if you stand up and tell an audience that being racist or being sexist is bad, they will find your speech pretty boring because, duh, it's not saying anything new. The way to make an OO captivating is to surprise your audience by showing the problems facing the world have an unexpected culprit. That there's a villain behind our actions and behaviors, and that villain is typically a mindset, some sort of value system that we didn't even realize is causing these problems. And so the persuasive element of an OO is weaving together compelling examples and evidence to prove that the mindset that you're talking about is indeed the root cause of the problems you discuss. So let's get more specific, and I'll give you some examples of successful OOs. A state finalist in the state championship tournament of 2019, Ashwin Pillai, a Bellarmine student, his speech was all about how we're told we need to find some grand meaning for our lives, our incessant drive to find our life's purpose. That seems fine, right? Trying to find your life's purpose? Well, what his speech showed is that what happens when we don't find that purpose right away? We feel profound angst when we can't find that meaning. And Ashwin identified the ways in which that angst helps to explain the rise of hate groups on Facebook, groups that proclaim Islamophobic views, anti-Muslim views. Why? Because they give people a clear sense of meaning, a clear sense of community. And Ashwin showed that those groups are on the rise. He also identified that people who are turning to opioids more and more, which has become the epidemic facing America right now, often do it because of a lack of meaning and purpose within their lives. So that's one example. Another one, which was a national champion in 2017, was all about how we obsess with telling stories to make sense of the complexity of the world. We are storytellers. That's one of the core aspects of being human. Again, telling stories doesn't seem bad on face. Now, what this speaker, JJ, did was he showed that telling stories actually leads us to simplify aspects of the world in really problematic ways. Whether it's simplifying historical narratives in ways that sweep injustices under the rug, or whether it's simplifying the stories of people in ways that stereotype them, such as assuming that anybody wearing a turban must be associated with Osama bin Laden. Those are some examples that this speech talked about. Another national champion speech was about our obsession with balance. We're always told we need to have a balanced life, or we need to achieve a balance between different types of opinions. Again, this speaker showed that this mindset of trying to achieve balance has actually led to really problematic consequences. For instance, in the news, it's allowed us to give credibility to ideas that are not equal. And we've done this in the name of balance. For instance, with climate change, we give equal credibility to claims that climate change is not real as we do to claims that it is. And that creates a false equivalency. Moreover, it also gives credence or credibility to hateful politics in the name of media balance. And perhaps most importantly, this obsession with balance has actually disrupted our ability to live fulfilling lives as it's stretched us too thin. So hopefully you're starting to get the idea of what an original oratory does. It's a delicate dance between an abstract mindset and concrete problems. And it's really intuitive and revealing to an audience to find out, wow, I never thought about these problems as being linked to these types of mindsets that I didn't even think about on a daily basis. So why might you want to do OO? What are the advantages of it? Well, as you've hopefully seen, there's a lot of freedom in terms of the type of topics and problems to discuss. Because the topics are more abstract, you get to be really creative with the ways that you apply these mindsets or values to specific problems in society. Second, OO is undoubtedly one of the most inspirational speech events. There's a reason it was the original speech event for the National Speech and Debate Association, and there's a reason it is always the last speech event right before the awards ceremony at Nationals. It's because it's seen as being the core of speech and debate in many ways. And I think the best OOs are some of the most engaging and inspirational speeches to watch. I'm sure you'll feel that when you watch some of the national champion speeches. And finally, OO is a national event. So that's good. Difficulties or reasons, things to think about before you accept OO. The topics are very abstract. So finding and researching a topic can be a bit tricky. You'll definitely want to watch the picking or developing an OO topic video before you choose this event to get a sense for what picking a topic actually entails. Because the national champions are going to make it look very easy and very natural. But an OO requires a very delicate ability to connect abstract topics to concrete problems, and that makes it not easy in the opening stages of it. Certainly, the first couple of steps of choosing a topic for OO are probably harder than the other speech events. It requires a lot of patience and perseverance, but again, I think the payoffs for OO are really awesome. If you can persevere and find a topic that you're passionate about, be able to connect a mindset to concrete problems within society, I think OO can be a lot of fun. So hopefully this video was informative. If you have more questions, don't hesitate to reach out.